Hey, listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM 89.0 and ArrowFM. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we've got Josh.
Yo.
Sorry if this episode and the next two sound a little different. I will be recording them live from London, from Airbnbs, so I do have to keep my voice down a little bit. And the audio quality, of course, isn't going to be as good because I'm not on my full home setup as well. So we're going to try and make do. And we can't not talk about Hell in a Cell. We talked about last week how there wasn't a pre-show match announced. It was the New Day Rusev Day match that ended up getting bumped to.
Yeah, I can live with that. It was a decent match. Not that big of a surprise in the ending.
Yeah, it seemed like it was just another match, right? I think as fun as it would have been to see Rusev Day as champion, even the moving it to the pre-show made it 1,000% less likely to happen.
Yeah, and I think Rusev Day blew up on SmackDown.
Okay. That's a less good sign. A less good sign. It seemed as though we've been teasing that for like ever, and we've just never pulled the trigger on it.
Yeah.
So maybe it's time that it happens. Who knows? We'll see. I still find them great, all three of them, so I wouldn't be mad if they stayed around as a team. But, you know, WWE's going to do what WWE wants to do. So the actual full-blown pay-per-view started off with a Hell in a Cell match. It was Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy. She got a little brutal, just as expected.
Yeah. And Jeff tried to jump off the cage like expected. Modified just slightly because he got his Jeff Hardy ladder.
Yeah.
Which, since he's the only one that uses that 20-foot ladder, that forever will be the Jeff Hardy ladder to me.
Can you go to a hardware store in America and buy 20-foot ladders?
Not in that style, but yes.
Wow. I think you have to get the flat ones for us. You wouldn't get the A-frames.
Yeah, you have to buy the extender ones that extend out that you lean up against something.
Yeah.
But you can't climb on it or and set it up and climb on it like that one.
Yeah, so that's a lot of work. We can call it the Jeff Hardy ladder then, since they, I'm assuming, have to go out and buy one specifically for it.
Yeah, I'm sure they have a contract that they have the companies that make those type of ladders to make them, especially if they need them to be doctored in any way.
Mm-hmm. It must be a crazy day when the ladder manufacturer gets a call and they're like, we need another 20-foot one. And they're just thinking, oh god, what's Jeff going to do now? But yeah, as you said, Jeff attempts to jump off the top, but gets a solid nope from Orton and ends up through a table. It looks... I think also we can't skip over the fact that Randy Orton again shoved something through Jeff Hardy's earlobe. I think it was a betting thing at some point. Someone was like, do you think Randy Orton's going to put something through Jeff Hardy's earlobe? Yes. And it looks painful whenever you do it. Starting to get played out, though, for doing it every single time, but...
Well, Jeff got to do what he wanted to do, so now he can go and retire just like Matt did.
I'm not 100% sure on if this is finishing. It depends, I guess, how you interpret SmackDown. Randy Orton seems to still be a little sadistic about it. To me, this would be a perfect end. You know, Hell in a Cell and all. And, you know, Jeff did take the L. But I don't know what, from SmackDown, whether I fully understand exactly where Randy Orton will be heading from this. Because it could just be a generic, a general sadistic guy thing rather than a still hating on Jeff specifically.
Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. But I definitely agree that now Jeff can ride off into the sunset. But he won't. Jeff won't. Next up, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch. We gave her a Dolph Ziggler's chance in Hell, and it happened.
Heck, we gave her half of one. Well, I'm surprised. I'm really, really surprised they pulled the trigger this early. Mm-hmm. I figured Becky might win, but I figured it would be down the road.
Yeah.
After a few matches. But she won the title, and I'm interested in seeing if this title reign will be better than the one she had before.
Yeah, I was definitely with you. Somebody in another chat, he was asking like, who should I bet on for this match? And I'm like, well, you know, we've got the match now at Hell in a Cell. we got the match again at Super Showdown. We got the match at Evolution. The feud is going to continue. It made sense to keep the belt on Charlotte and to maybe switch it to Becky at some point in that feud, but switching it in the first match was definitely something unexpected to me, and I think that's why we gave her half a Dolph Ziggler's chance in Hell. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see how the reign is going to go for Becky. They did do the post-match. Charlotte attempts a handshake and Lynch says no. So it seems as though they are still going with the Lynch as the bad person in this feud, even though there was that whole, is anybody going to really be the bad person? Because we can't really decide. And the crowd are going against it. It seems as though Becky is still angsty, is a nice way to put it. Which I think, when you said, is it going to be better than the last time, I think that aspect is going to be the piece that saves it, if anything, and makes it something different.
Yeah, she at least has a interesting character this time around. So, yeah, we'll definitely see where they develop here. But they're keeping us guessing, and that's a good thing.
Interestingly now, both times that Becky Lynch has won the title, we have on a show beforehand said that there's minimal chance she wins, and that it would be the wrong choice if she won.
Yeah, the first time, that was definitely the case. I screamed it from the mountaintop. I was proven right. But this time, I don't really have a problem with Becky winning that.
Okay.
I was just surprised at win.
Yeah.
But I think the more deserving now.
Yeah. So we'll see how Showdown and Evolution go. It would be very WWE of them, but I wouldn't expect them to switch the title back again. Although I do keep having PTSD flashbacks to Sasha Banks and Charlotte's feud, the Raw Women's title, and thinking, no, they could keep switching the title back and forth.
Well, I think if they're going to switch it back to Charlotte, they'll do it out of Evolution. Because next time Charlotte wins the title will be her 8th title reign, breaking her tie with Trish Stratus.
Yeah. Which, ironically, will be at Evolution.
Yeah. So that's why I say I don't expect it at Showdown. I would expect Becky to take a shortcut to retain.
Yep. Which
would then give them the reason to do it at Evolution, even though we already know it's going to happen.
Yeah, I can say that. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with what that seems to imply going forward. I know when we were looking at matches and stuff, we were like, okay, well, WWE is sort of pigeonholed a little bit because we've got Hell in a Cell that was like fully announced, and then we've got Super Showdown, which is pretty much fully announced. Evolution is starting to shape up. Now we have Crown Jewel, the Saudi Arabia pay-per-view, that's starting to shape up, which we'll talk more about the match for that later on after the main event. And it's just so many events on at the moment that it's like, we can see where you're going a little bit. And then they still manage to swerve us with stuff like the Becky win. So, I'm happy to be surprised. Not happy to have another Dolph Ziggler's chance in Hell event happening. We gotta stop giving title matches that. It's a jinx.
Well, maybe the next time it'll be a Becky Lynch's chance.
That's less than Dolph Ziggler's, right? Because we gave her half of Dolph Ziggler's.
Yes.
Talking about Dolph Ziggler, though, he managed to retain his title against what I'd expected.
Yeah, it's, Drew and Dolph got to keep their titles, so they're still champions. They still have gold.
Seemed like a fairly straightforward, good match between the four. As much as we seem to...
Yeah, but I will say we didn't need a lot of the shenanigans from them later on in the night.
Yeah, I'll get to that. I honestly thought we were going to pull the trigger on the full Shield holding all the belts thing, especially for Super Showdown. I was quite surprised when Ziggler McIntyre retained. I'm not mad, because as I've said multiple times, McIntyre has a title, so I'm happy. But yeah, it was definitely surprising to see, like, okay, we're not going to go with that. Let's see what happens then in the coming weeks, because if we're not going to pull the trigger on that, then I'm assuming Seth's going to hold on to his title at least for a little bit longer, and we may not be going with a full-on Shield championship dominance type storyline. So we'll have to see what happens, I guess, after Showdown. We know what Roman Reigns' path is going to be. We'll have to see what Seth and Dean's path is going to have to be after Showdown.
Yeah, they still haven't modified the announcement for the main event of that local show. So, as of right now, it's still just a regular tag team match. They know with no mention of the tag team titles at all. Who knows?
Because obviously, if you guys have forgotten it, at Super Showdown it will be The Shield versus Braun Strowman, and Ziggler and Drew McIntyre in a 6-man tag team match. So yeah, that's at least the path for Showdown, which is on October 6th, which if I check my calendar, is two weeks away. 2 show weeks. 2 Raws, 2 SmackDowns. What do we got? Ooh, we could probably squeeze in another match before going to the song. AJ Styles, Samoa Joe. The match that we thought maybe that would go into a Hell in a Cell. We end up with a bit of a controversial end to, I assume, set up the rematches.
Yeah, it was immediately after the match, it was announced that they would be facing off again at Super Showdown for the title. I'm not sure if they made it a stipulation or not, but I do know that it was in fact announced for the event.
Wikipedia, if it is to be believed, does say that it is a no count out, no disqualification match, which is a street fight, isn't it? How many names do we have for a no DQ match? It feels like they're all the same. I'm sure there's subtle differences in the rules, but it feels like they're all the same. No count out, no DQ, Extreme Rules, Street Fight, Chicago Street Fight. You can just keep going, man.
Yeah, Falls Count Anywhere.
That one at least has a subtle rule change of that Falls Count Anywhere. It's in the name. But the finish with Joe Styles was that there was a pinfall and AJ Styles tapped out at the same time. So it was a case of the ref saw one, called the finish that way, and obviously it's now open to interpretation whether Styles should be the champion or not. We know there's a rematch at Super Showdown. We keep talking about this Miz Bryan title match at WrestleMania and building towards it, and we had the perfect stalling plan set out, but now with Crown Jewels there is another pay-per-view to stall out. But Crown Jewels does feature a WWE World Cup tournament to determine the best in the world. Don't quite know what that's going to entail just yet, so it may end up wrapping a few feuds into it, which could help us stall.
Yeah, it'd be great for The Miz to win that.
Yeah, I love The Miz, so I'm happy to see The Miz win.
Especially after all the negative things that a certain somebody said, that it has a certain nickname that's similar to what you just said lines ago.
I know you're making me think back. You can tell me in the song break. But we're gonna have to, I guess with Crown Jewel at the moment, obviously it is 2 pay-per-views away. Evolution is on October 28th, which is what, 1, 2, come on calendar.
It's a month and a week.
3, 4, 5, so 5 weeks, and then immediately the week after, so 6 weeks, is Crown Jewels. So, it's going to be pretty rapid after Evolution. I expect after Showdown happens, that the Evolution and Crown Jewel cards will start to explode, because they are mutually exclusive. WWE Evolution obviously being the quote-unquote first ever all-women's pay-per-view, and Crown Jewels being a show in Saudi Arabia that the women are not allowed to attend. So it's sort of, we can be building towards both of those at the exact same time, just in the 2 different divisions. And Super Showdown, we have 10 matches announced for, so I'm going to assume that's the full card. That's a pretty chock card. Alright, I said we had some time for one more match before we got to the song, so that means it is now song time. We have selected Becky Lynch's theme this week for obvious reasons. She defied us and managed to win with half of Dolph Ziggler's chance in Hell, so might as well reward her by playing her theme on the show this week. So enjoy that. And you're back with Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, Grady and Josh. Where we left off in the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, we have Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella taking on The Miz and Maurice in a mixed tag team match.
And nobody's surprised In this show, Miz and Maurice wins.
And in the exact same way we thought as well.
Yep. Because of course they're going to cheat the win.
And Maurice picking up the win was pretty cool as well. I think I referenced it last week, there's a rumoured card for Evolution that was floating around. I don't believe in that this match was on there, but I'm still so thoroughly behind a Brie Maurice match happening at Evolution. We had the one on SmackDown, it didn't finish. We had the one here on Hell in a Cell. Maurice Hulk pulls the tights to win. It just lines up so well. And then there's Super Showdown, which obviously we're already stalling with the Bryan Miz number one contendership match. So I don't know what ends up. Maybe Maurice ends up costing Brie the match at Evolution if they go the rumoured card way. So I don't know. I was quite impressed by Maurice. I think she's still got it. I think if she wants to continue, that this can keep going for a little while. I'm not thinking, ooh, this is a little dodgy, let's stop it now. So I'm quite happy with this. And as always, Miz and Maurice great.
Mrs. Star is just getting bigger and bigger. And he really truly does deserve a run with the WWE, even if it's only for a couple months. He deserves to hold the title again. Maybe. Because he's done everything to earn it.
Maybe the length between Rumble and WrestleMania?
Royal Rumble and WrestleMania.
I think that's a good length. Let's go with that one. Yeah. I feel like as well, since it's a mixed match, we should jump over to the mixed match challenge. We don't have a lot of time, so we are just going to talk about results from it. Alexa Bliss, due to things that we have yet to talk about in Hell in a Cell, unable to make it to the mixed match challenge, was replaced by Ember Moon last minute. But Ember Moon and Braun Strowman still managed to take out the team of Natalya and Kevin Owens, while the early favourites Charlotte Flair and AJ Styles managed to defeat Naomi and her husband. And next week we will see Alicia Fox and Jinder Mahal versus Sasha Banks and Lashley, and we will see Carmella and R-Truth versus Asuka and Miz. Now we shall jump back to Hell in a Cell and talk about why Alexa Bliss could not attend the mixed match challenge, because Ronda Rousey snapped her arm.
Yeah, originally we had the Luigi death stare. Now we have the Ronda death stare.
Yep. To me, and I'm pretty sure from the events on Raw, this is it. It's over.
Yeah, I think Bliss's near perfect title pay-per-view streak is over.
Yeah. She'll move on. Next match, I don't believe she's booked for Super Showdown. Just skim it. I can't see her name on it. But she is at Evolution, obviously, versus Trish Stratus in a singles match, not in the title picture. And over on Raw, the Riot Squad has started targeting Ronda Rousey, which sets up that Super Showdown match that we already know that's announced with the Riot Squad versus Ronda and the Balor Twins. So I feel like this is the next sort of stopgap for Ronda. We've been saying a while that Mickey's going to cost Ronda that match or turn on her in there and lead to an Evolution match between the two. I still believe that's the way we're going. Is that the way you believe still?
I really don't know. I'm just more interested in seeing more and more of Ronda. I think she's developing well.
Yeah.
Was she catapulted early? Yes. But overall, no issues for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think she's been able to do well. It's almost been a trial by fire. And now that the Alexa thing's over, I'm going to look forward to seeing her in these matches against different people. So the Riot Squad, the Nikki Bella match honestly could go either way if it happens. So I'm going to hold off on that one, but just getting Ronda in the ring on these bigger shows with different people, the only thing that can really happen is Ronda gets better from this. So fingers crossed to see her continue to develop at the rate she's going now, but yes, she's been good. Hell in a Cell, main event, in another cell. I'm gonna try and run through the events, and we can talk about it. So it was Roman Reigns defending his Universal Championship against Money in the Bank cash-in of Braun Strowman. At some point in the match, Ziggler and McIntyre attempt to interfere. Rollins and Ambrose stop them. but then they fly through some announce tables just because every time there's a Hell in a Cell match, somebody's got to go through the announce table. Ha ha ha, I get it, it's a reference. I forgot to mention Mick Foley was the special guest ref here. And then Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman return. Lesnar breaks the cell door. Heyman pepper sprays Foley. Lesnar lays out both Strowman and Reigns. And then it's a no contest. Reigns still has his title. Strowman fails his cash-in. And Brock Lesnar's back into the title picture. Discuss.
Yeah, it kind of breaks the whole point of a Hell in a Cell match.
What, when 5 people manage to interfere with it?
Yeah, well, not just that, but there's supposed to be an outcome.
Yep. Yeah.
And this is the first Hell in a Cell match that I've ever heard of that has not had any.
I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I have a really bad memory, so... Yeah. But I believe it. It's very, very much a definitive thing, usually at the end of a storyline. Used to be the blow-off match a lot until, it had its own pay-per-view and it got a bit shoehorny, but, yeah, it obviously setting up future things. Now we can talk about stuff that's on Raw and these other pay-per-views. On Raw, Baron Corbin gives Brock Lesnar his Universal title rematch. It's going to be at Crown Jewels. It will be a triple threat match between Brock Lesnar, Braun Strowman, and possibly Roman Reigns. I say that, but later on, because Baron Corbin is just going completely power hungry, he gives himself a title match but loses it. So yes, Roman Reigns.
Yeah. I've so missed a heel GM. And honestly, Corbin is being so slimy and so manipulative. He could even manipulate heel. Because he talked Ziggler into a rematch under the guise that Rollins might not show up.
Yep.
And then, of course, Rollins showed up and successfully retained his title. The match was really, really good. We didn't need any of the interference. But the match was really good between Corbin and Reigns, which it was a Reigns match. Of course it was good, regardless of what the internet thinks.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just, I like where they're going with Corbin. I want to see more. I want to see how they further develop him, because they found something new here. And we're finally running with it.
The thing that I like the most about it is it has a general manager that is wrestling. I feel like that just opens up so many storylines.
Especially if you have a heel one that's wrestling.
Yeah, face one that's wrestling's not as fun.
Because if you have somebody he has a vendetta against, hello Finn Balor, then he can use the position, hold that person down.
Yeah.
And then of course he can then gift himself with title matches like he did this week, or just do things that are absolutely in the favor of the heels that are chasing the face champions, like Rollins and Reigns, or hinder any faces that would go after the tag team titles.
Pretty much. It's a really cool dynamic. And as you said, I just want to see more of it.
I mean, it had been. The brand extension is now, 3 years old?
Yeah.
And up until acting general manager Baron Corbin, we'd always had faces on both sides, on both shows. Yeah. Even though it didn't make sense for Raw to have a face.
We're running out of time, but I will check. Other than the obvious Super Showdown implication that we need to talk about, and neither of us really want to talk about, is there anything else from Raw and SmackDown you think we've missed?
Nothing comes to mind. I'm sure there might have been something, but nothing comes to mind at the moment.
Cool. Josh, we are going to get the Brothers of Destruction versus an unretired Shawn Michaels and DX match in the Saudi Arabia show, are we not?
I'm afraid we probably are. Much to our dismay.
I may need a bucket to hold all of my tears. Not like a normal bucket, a really big bucket.
I'm going to cry the Dead Sea.
Yeah. There's going to be as much salt as the Dead Sea as well.
Yes, that was the point. And it's a location near the Crown Jewel venue, too.
We didn't need it. This thing, it was a case of, it came out rumored, I didn't want it. Shawn Michaels came out and did a promo, I didn't want it. The Undertaker announces Kane is going to be in his corner, I didn't want it. At this point, I believe the Super Showdown match is Triple H with Shawn Michaels in his corner versus The Undertaker with Kane in his corner. It is, even though that this match is billed as the last time that they're going to face off, or maybe it was the last time one-on-one, it is the most obvious setup to a tag team match ever. If Shawn Michaels wasn't retired, I would give this a 10,000% chance to cause a tag team match later on.
Yeah.
But because he's retired, I give it a 99.9% chance that it's going to have a tag team match later on. And that makes me cry.
Yes. I so trust HBK to be the one guy to go against his word, but if Taker gave him his blessing to do it, then that's that.
I have no further comments on this match.
Bye.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/wrestling roundup radio, twitter.com/wrestling radio, and we'll see you next week.